Hi everyone. So, unfortunately, the condo ended up being rented for today. So, I ended up having to leave before I could um, have the funds to stay. Father did give me the funds after Tuesday night, but before, so let me back up. On Monday, when I had received the text message saying that I could, if I wanted to, extend my stay to Wednesday, that it would be at a discount of 25%. At the time, I only had enough for the cost of the stay. They still would have added the taxes, which I wouldn't have had enough for that. And God said to let them know that I would let them know in the morning. And you would think they would hold it till the morning. But anyway, so Monday came and went. I only ended up getting an extra $5 in my tip money. And so I knew I didn't have enough. So then Father put it in my heart to make a video Monday night asking for financial support, and to leave it at that. And he also led me to reach out to just Emily and ask for prayer support. And I did receive her prayers, and he did confirm that she prayed for me. And so everything was in alignment. But between Monday night and me putting a post up and Tuesday morning, because originally Father had put it in my heart to go and deposit the money into my card so that I would have it available so that they could charge my card and it would not decline. But when I got out of work, I did think it a little strange when he said, just go home and deal with it in the morning. I'm like, okay. So I went home. And then in the morning, I woke up and I was going to wait till about 7 or 8 to reach out to them to see, to let them know whether or not I was going to keep the condo. But Father led me to instead ask when would be the latest I could give them an answer and still take advantage of the 25%. And that's when they told me that the condo had already been rented. So then I realized why God had not made a way for anyone to put in their heart to financially provide for the condo, because his plan, he was just looking for my obedience. That's it. And my obedience unlocked other things that I cannot see. So that morning on Tuesday, before I woke up, and yes, I am back in my truck. I don't know how long I'll be here, but it is what it is. All I can do is smile and keep faith. Keep faith that my Father will provide. He's brought me this far. He's not going to leave me where I'm at. And so I've been sitting here, and anyway, yesterday morning, he will suddenly make me so sleepy that I'll have to go back to sleep. So I did. Yesterday I went back to sleep after I sent the text to the condo managers or hosts, because it's Airbnb, asking them when would be the latest that I could tell them before I wouldn't be able to take advantage of the 25%. And Father gave me a dream. In the dream, I was in the desert in an isolated place. I had run away from my captors because I had been locked up with my child, which I knew my child in the dream was my dog because he is still my dog, but I take care of him and treat him as my child because, you know, he's the only one I have. And so as I was there, I had a backpack and it was full of supplies that I had stashed away just before the kidnappers had taken me. And so I got away from them, but I was still in the house where they were staying. But because of the passages, the secret passages that were in the house, I was going in and out of places and they had no idea that I was still there. But they heard me, or they found some things that I didn't clean up. Something happened that caused them to realize that I was still on the property, and they began looking for me. I took that opportunity to run, and I went through the fence. And at first, I was calling my dog, and I'm like, you know what? He will follow me. I just need to go. And sure enough, here comes my son following me. And when we get there, but I recognize it's my dog. He's on all fours and he's running. And so I get the backpack and we end up in this isolated place, and it's hot and it's very, very dry. There's no water. We are running out of supplies. There's nowhere to go get food unless I want to hunt and kill it myself. So there's nothing for us to eat. There's nothing. We're out of everything. And suddenly, a helicopter appeared, and we were air-vac'd out of there. And as they're pulling me up and they're pulling up my son, the woman looks at me and she says, "You're very lucky. If your son had stayed any longer in this situation, he would have died." And I was elated because I was saved. So I know that help is on the way. I just have to hold out until help arrives. Those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. Okay, so I've been sitting here and kind of not begrudging where I'm at, but trying to assimilate and trying to make the best of it. I did take a blanket and I went outside and we sat at the park and in the shade. And it's getting later in the afternoon. The heat is going up. It was 97 when we got here. It is now probably 110 because it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I think. Might be 1:30. I don't know. I know it's close to 2 o'clock. And right after I came back into the truck, after being outside, I ate a few pieces of chicken that I had cooked, which reminded me of when I left the apartment in California when I was living in Oceanside. And I remember the feeling I had when I was leaving that place because, so my roommate started out pretty cool. He was a really nice guy. But towards the end, when I finally told him that I was leaving, he started acting odd. And he started sticking around longer. And so I couldn't take care of the things that I needed to take care of because now he was in the way. So I couldn't go make food like I wanted to. He was making it uncomfortable. And so God just kept telling me, stay in the room, stay in the room. So whenever he would leave, that's when God would send me out to do what I needed to do. And so that day, it was a Thursday, I was making chicken. And I was frying the chicken, and then I was putting it in a container, which I was going to then put in bags the next morning to put into a lunch bag that I would be eating throughout the week, which I did. And that is actually the last meal I had before I ran out. And anyway, so as I'm preparing to clean up after myself, and get everything ready, I turn around and my dog has a skin issue, so he scratches a lot. And the amount of skin that comes off him, because it's dried skin. So what happens is he's itchy because he's cut himself, and it dries up and it becomes a scab, and now the scab is itchy, so he scratches it some more and he does more damage. And it's a constant battle with him not to do that. But I turn around and it's like caked on the floor, and I'm like, what? So I started really freaking out because I had to be out by 10 in the morning. And I had woken up at 5, but I was still too tired because God woke me up in the middle of the night, and it was just a restless night. And so I ended up going back to sleep at 6, but I took my dog out, got him, taken care of. I started laundry, and which was really the big thing that I needed to do, was get my laundry done so that I would have all clean clothes for however long I'm out here, which is only until I just looked at the calendar, and because Labor Day is on Monday, the 4th, I get paid on the 5th. It's going to delay my paycheck until the 6th. So that means that I have 8 days before I have money again to go to rent either another Airbnb or hotel, depending on what God leads me to do. This is all part of the whole process that happened today, okay? So I'm not just giving you all this information to be frivolous. There's a point to it. So as I'm sitting here and I'm kind of, putting my mind back into being in my car for a period of time, because it does take a toll on your mind, it takes a toll on your body. So you have to prepare yourself for being like this. And now that I've been in this for so long, I know, okay, I can go in my mind to this place and say to myself and my head, it's only temporary, it's only a partial time, this isn't permanent. I have an end date, the 5th, the 6th, I have an end date. So that allows me to emotionally handle being back in my car again. So as I was sitting here, suddenly I started feeling tired, which told me God wanted me to sleep. So I did, and I felt like it's something. It's like He knocks you out, like He did Adam when he was performing surgery to get the rib out and creating Eve, and He put Adam under that spell of sleep. Yeah, it's like that. It just comes over you and you have no control over it. But it wasn't that He wanted to give me any more dreams. It's just He wanted me to relax. Because these last 2 weeks that I've been in this condo was mainly for resting. It was for nothing else. There was no going out and meeting anyone or talking to anyone or giving any words to anyone. It was literally sleeping and resting and abiding in Him. That's all I did. Yes, I did get on YouTube. Yes, I did give a couple words. Yes, He did lead me to share my testimony. But the main purpose of that space was to rest. Literally, that condo was so dark, I could have slept in the living room. That's how dark it is. Because I like a dark room. I don't like light. it causes me to wake up. You know, if there's light in the room, I want to be awake. My body will not allow me to sleep. And God knows this because He built me this way. You sleep at night, you don't sleep during the day. And so when He woke me up, He led me to go to YouTube. And I'm just like, okay, Father. Normally when He tells me go to YouTube, it's because either just Emily has posted a word, or there is something that He wants me to see or read, and that pertains to my current situation. And yes, He did give me a word about Christmas in July, but it's the how can I explain it? I did receive my Christmas presents in July. I received my mind back, my heart back, my freedom, my deliverance. And August was a month of freedom. And so as I was going through, I went and scrolled up just one time, just one scroll. And the next video that came up was Bold for Christ, which He did have me unsubscribe from her for a time, because He needed me to focus on Him and not focus on, because I did. There was a period of time where He led me consistently to listen to her and to others, and eventually He kind of stopped that. He's like, nope, I want you to unsubscribe from them. I want you to unsubscribe from her. I want you to unsubscribe from that. And then their words didn't come up as often. And suddenly He had me resubscribe. And I'm like, okay, but I thought you said. And He goes, no, it's okay. You can subscribe now because I want you to see something or see things. And I'm like, okay. I just go, okay, and I move along. And okay, back to this morning. So I was literally having conniption. Like my flesh was revolting so ferociously that it had me panicked that I wasn't going to get everything done in time. And as I was getting closer and closer to the end, and I finished my breakfast, and then God's like, okay, take everything else and throw it out. I don't want you touching any of it. I'm like, okay, so I took it and I threw it out. I finished cooking the chicken. I made cinnamon rolls for breakfast, which I only ate half of each cinnamon roll and the other half went to my dog. And then I ate 2 pieces of chicken, and then I couldn't do it anymore. And God said, that's all you need to do. You need, because at the time, at the end of my transitions, there's so much to explain that previous videos that I've done in the different stages of where I've been, unfortunately in December I didn't make any videos because God didn't lead me to, because the focus wasn't on the testimony. The focus was on getting my head right. And I was under so much warfare at the time that I could hear God, but I couldn't grasp the entirety of His message. So that's why He was using the prophets to help guide me where I needed to go and help me understand when I needed to move, when I needed to change directions. As we got closer to July, the birthing month, I started hearing God a lot clearer. Now, my last test that I had to go through God was not allowed to tell me a single thing. A single thing. It was Lucifer who had set the stage, had set the rules, had set the requirements of my test, of what I was supposed to experience and how I was supposed to go through this alone. But by then, because of all the things that I had gone through with God, all the testing and the practicing and the going over the test and over the test and over the test and showing it to me in different varieties in different ways, when Lucifer gave me his test, and his test was the same test that he gave me in the beginning when God took my necklace that was given to me by the woman who raised me. And it wasn't the necklace per se, it was the cross, because she had put a curse on the cross, and that is how she was tapping into my blessings, tapping into my life force. And God took that away from me, and so Lucifer used that to be my final test, because God gave me that medallion in replacement of the cross, so that I would feel protected and I would feel safe. And I'm not going to lie, at some point, that medallion did start to become an idol. So God was okay with Lucifer using that as my final test. So when the opportunity was presented to me about a man who was having a medical situation, he had been through cancer, he had relapsed, and he had been through the treatments again, and he just was at his wit's end about being a survivor. And he's like, if I go through this cancer thing again, I'm done. I'm just going to put a bullet in my head and I'm done. And I said, no, don't do that. God doesn't want you to do that. God doesn't want you to give up. And that's when I was led to give my medallion with the necklace that had belonged to the woman who raised me's mother. And she was more of a paternal grandmother to me than the woman who raised me was a mother to me. And so I took it off. I handed it to the man and I said, here, God wants you to have this. I didn't think twice. I didn't fight with God about, oh, what do you mean I got to give it away? Nope. But I did it while I was drunk. And that was another thing that Lucifer had set as part of my test, is that I had to do these things while I was drinking. Because in Lucifer's mind, when I woke up the next morning and I realized that my medallion was gone, that he would think, I would then turn on God. Because that was the whole point of this, was for me to turn my back on God and tell God, how could you let me do this? How could you let me give away something that you gave me? But I recognized it for what it was, because God had been allowing me to drink, but I wasn't getting drunk to passing out like I used to. And that was because God also showed me that when I was married, my ex-husband was putting something in my drink to drive me crazy so that he could have me committed, because the company that I worked for had a health care plan for mentally institutionalized spouses. And he would have received $250,000 payment if I had been institutionalized. And I do remember losing my mind, and I was so scared when I got out of that relationship that I wouldn't touch a drink until God led me to drink again. And It's been a rough road. And also alcoholism is an issue in my family. So that is the other reason I didn't want to drink. But Lucifer was counting on the alcohol and giving away this medallion that had at this point become such a part of me that I would then revolt against God for making me give it away. But I recognized it for what it was. And instead, I repented for my behavior, and I repented for my for drinking, and I repented, and I asked God to forgive me, and I asked God to to save me, to remove that spirit of alcoholism off me. And that was the end. That was the end. That is when God transitioned me to this condo to rest. However, I still need to finish my walk because it's a specific walk. It's a specific way that He wants my help to arrive. My help is to arrive while I'm living in my car, because that is a test for them. If they look at me living in my car and they judge me and they reject me, then they have failed their test. So, Revelation is a very powerful, powerful, powerful weapon. So, as I was listening to Bold for Christ, she rambles a little bit, talking about, I'm not going to, anyway. When she finally got to the word about by this time tomorrow, and she had said that she had asked God about confirmation, and the word that He gave her, I felt it in my heart. He gave her the word anastasis. The word He said to me when she said that word is Anastasia. Because He's been having that movie. I watched it and I've played on it, and that's actually the movie I watched while I was in the condo, along with a few others that he led me to watch. Sorry guys, I'm sweating so badly. It's hot. So I asked God for confirmation, and as I was sitting here, I'm like, God, confirm it for me. A van pulled up behind me with a Coca-Cola. I'm like, okay. It's a red van, a red Coca-Cola van. And whenever He shows me Coca-Cola, that means the blood of the Lamb, because it's red. They're all red. And I was like, okay, the blood of the Lamb. I don't understand. And I was reading here. I started thinking about how He doesn't have me read my Bible as much as I used to. And I'm like, you don't have me read my Bible as much as I used to. Why? And I realized that was Him putting that in my mind, that he hasn't had me read my Bible as much. I'm like, okay, so you want me to read my Bible? And so I grabbed my Bible, and in my Bible I have some money that I ask God to multiply. And I never leave my Bible without any money in it, because He has led me to do that. But not all of the money that He gives me in tips, or the money that He gives me through people. Sometimes He'll have me pull money out of the account and I'll keep that money in cash. But He always has me leave a portion of that money in the Bible under Deuteronomy. And the amount doesn't matter. The amount varies. Sometimes it's $1, sometimes it's $60, sometimes it's $30. It fluctuates, and I only pull out what he allows me to pull out. But that's why I had $40 because for $42, which the stay at the condo was $41, but you still had to add on taxes. 41, 42, 42, 41, 5, 7, 6, 5, 6, 4, 6, 5, 6. He plays with the numbers a lot, and when he brought me to Tara, and I want to shout out to Tara. You're amazing. You're an amazing lady, because I thought I was making this up in my head. I really did. And the way that you play with the numbers that God has shown you is exactly the way He showed me. And I'm like, okay, so I'm not making this up. And he goes, no. And I'm like, okay. And he tells me, just follow Tara. Look at what she does. And I do. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. So I was contemplating this word about, you know, by this time tomorrow. By this time tomorrow. I'm like, by this time tomorrow? Father, what do you mean? And I asked him to confirm if this word was for me. Okay. And this is, when I opened my Bible, I asked him, where should I go? And he said, Genesis. And I'm like, okay. And when I opened to Genesis, he brought me to chapter 2. And he had me stop and read the seventh day. And it's about how God completed the earth. And he completed and he rested on the seventh day. And then he asked me, look back at the calendar. How many days has it been since the 24th? I'm like, okay, 7 days. And he's like, okay. So what happens on the seventh day? You rest. My work is done. And I'm like, okay.